me with whoever I am to be able to stream on the World Wide Web. We're connected in there. Hopefully we're streaming on the World Wide Web. Hopefully it's going on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube, for having this ability to stream our content, what we believe in here. You know, and again, what we believe in is the love of humanity, the love of life, the sanctity of life, the preservation of life. That's what we're about. We're about making life and making it better. And that doesn't mean a prosperity message. I'm not talking about prosperity here, although it may be a byproduct of that. But that's not the goal. The goal is to find the direction in our lives that's going to make life better for us. We really don't know if we're streaming here or not. We're trying. Hopefully we're going to get this ironed out after the next few weeks. We'll probably get this thing ironed out. Are we streaming? So it looks like we're streaming. So the response from the facial expressions that I'm getting was that we weren't streaming. So I'll ignore that and just stay focused. So again, what we have to understand is in this continuity, in this life that we're living, are we trying to make things better? Are we aware of that? Do we even want to make things better? Okay, that's really the first step, is to ask yourself, do I want to be better? You know, we only have one body. That's it. If we destroy this one body at the early onset of our years, what happens in the latter years? I destroyed my knee racing motorcycles. So now in the latter years, my knee wants to let me know that. In other areas of our life, and that goes to every aspect of our lives. We can abuse things, not really realizing how precious that thing that we've abused is going to be needed later on in life. And that's why the awareness factor for all of us. My dear friend, fellow UPS friend, Dan Rafferty, dear, lovely man, great guy. He used to always say there's 5 P's, and that is poor planning promotes poor performance. So anytime something would happen, it would go awry, he would always mention the 5P factor. So again, planning our lives, having a life planned out. And that's why this upper direction is a certain flow to life. Do we even want to get into that flow? Are we about life? Are we about preserving life? Are we about the sanctity of life? Are we about harmonizing life? And that's important for us to understand those things. Because it kind of puts us in the right mind frame. We have to have the right mind frame. If we've been hurt and offended, that hurt and offense that's on us, we can operate in that flow, the flow of hurt and offense, and that can be our stimulus. That's not what we want here. What we want here is an upper direction. We want to be able to flow in an upper direction, and what I mean by upper direction is that we're flowing in a higher ability of life and love of life. That's what we need to understand. If I love my body, am I going to abuse my body? I don't think so. If I do, then I might want to redefine my definition. That's another topic about getting into definitions. But here, in this flow of life in the upper direction, we have a plan. And that plan is to make our lives better. And again, I mentioned it's not about prosperity. It's not about the content of things that you have, because it's really not about that. Because if your life's about the things you have, what happens when you don't have those things? Then you don't have life, right? Well, that's why it's important that we understand the principles that we're trying to set forth here. First, it's the upper direction. Second is the flow. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world. What I'm showing you up behind the screen here, talking about the things that are going on in the world, it's now concerning the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm going to stop right there. We're going to kind of marinate in here for a moment. But, you know, in life, we have to understand that there's no greater emotion that we have as humans than love. That's it, love. Now, the question is, what is your definition of love? That's the question. In the world today, we're changing definitions. Yeah, unfortunately, that's what we're doing. We're changing definitions. And it's unfortunate when we do that. Here, the idea that there's no greater human emotion than love. If I love my body, I'm not going to abuse my body. If I love the world that I live in, I'm not going to abuse the world that I live in. I'm not going to destroy the world that I live in. If I love human life, I'm not going to destroy human life. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I love human life. We're humans, right? All of us on the planet are the human race. And why are we destroying one another? Why are we hurting one another? Why are we doing these things? Why? Because we got out of the flow. That's why. Bottom line, you got out of the flow. Now, if what I mean by the flow, if I'm playing a key, a certain key here. That's the tonic. The 1, 3, 5 of this, and if I'm playing this key here, and someone comes into the room and decides, well, you know what? I'm going to play my own key. Okay. Well, yeah, you can do that, and yeah, okay, if that's what you want to adapt to your life, and that's what you feel is what you want to do. It's not in the flow. Okay. That's not in the flow. Now the world is listening to that, and now it's a distraction. And that distraction is distracting people off of the theme, off of the flow. Okay? You see it in the world. Things are happening today in the world. You see rock stars making it on the onset. What do? They're making a big splash with their songs. Katy Perry, for instance, she started off where I Kissed a Girl and Liked It. That was like a head turner, and what happened that became famous. So that's what's happening in the world today, is people are coming in, making this noise, making a distraction, catching people off guard. You've seen on the freeway, people on the freeway, driving down the freeway, what happens is they're rubbernecking, they're turning their heads, they're looking on the other direction of the accident, and what happens on their side of the freeway? It's stopping the flow. That's stopping the flow. It's stopping the flow. Okay? So we have to be very careful that we're not stopping the flow. We're not stopping the direction of what we are living in. Okay? That's the important thing, that we're not doing that. And this is why this is called the upper direction. I don't even know if we're on streaming here live or not. I don't know if it's even being streamed or not. We're trying our best. And we're going to leave God to the rest. So again, the upper direction is the flow. That's the direction. And so the upper direction has to be in terms of what is the upper direction. It's taking the high road. It's taking the road of love. Taking the road of love. Again, if you love your body, you're not going to abuse your body. If you love your body, then you see another fellow human being has a body. You're going to respect and love that body as well. You wouldn't see the wars and the destruction of the flesh or the mutilation of the flesh. That's what we're in right now. We're in the acceptance of the mutilation of the flesh. I don't want to touch this body. I believe it's made perfect. Now, it's not made perfect to somebody else's eyes, but if we took mirrors, cameras away, we had no idea what we look like, and now all we'd have to think about is how I think about who I am, right? Because I'm not getting outside stimulus from cameras and other people's viewpoint. What's happening is I'm accepting myself just the way I am. How do I know what I look like if I got a big nose, or my lips aren't big enough, or my cheekbones, or whatever? I would never see that. So that means I have to internalize the love of myself, okay? And that's where we have to get back. We have to get back to the core of life. And I believe it's the upper direction. Again, the upper direction. And I'm going to turn some heads in the religious community out there, because I believe that we have got off track of this upper direction, off the flow. Again, the upper direction, let's get back to definitions. What are the definitions? What is love? That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. What is love? Where do you get your definition of love? Is my definition come from the way my parents treated each other? And they said they loved one another, and yet they fought like cats and dogs. Okay, do they really love each other? Okay, so we have to ask ourselves, what is the definition of love? And I believe that if we get to the definition of love, we'll get to the real core of how we're supposed to operate. So again, defining the definitions, not changing the definitions. And that's where we're at in the system of the world today, is we're changing definitions. So if we don't like something, what do? Let's change the definition. Okay, so we're here up on the screen there behind me. You'll see that this is pretty much the reason why we're here. We actually kind of got into a holding pattern in our teaching. We actually stopped right here. It's concerning the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm streaming right now on the World Wide Web through YouTube. Hopefully we're live. We haven't got any disgruntled faces. We've got a lot of characters in the background commenting and stuff. But hopefully we're streaming live. And hopefully you're out there and you're asking yourself some questions. You're seeking for truth. You're seeking for answers. I got recently back into golf, and there's a whole tons of information on YouTube right now. Amazing. Anytime you want to find out how to do something, what do? You go to YouTube, right? You go to the YouTube channel, look it up. How do I cook? How do I operate? I'm looking for this. What do? You go to YouTube. Everybody is going to YouTube for the answer. Well, the answer is in YouTube right here on the upper direction. So stay tuned. We have a short commercial. We'll be right back. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. We're just kidding. We actually... we could.